Hi there, this is Joseph Noecker with the Center for Self-Balance. Today we are going to be talking about levels of ego self-awareness. It sounds like a bunch of big words, but here's what we're talking about here. We all know, we've been talking about, if you've looked at past videos or read some of my previous blogs, that we've talked about the ego, and the ego is that part of us that it thinks it knows who we are, but it's really not who we are. It's only a small piece. And it's really afraid of knowing more about who we are because it's ultimately afraid it will be annihilated and we'll no longer have any use for it, which is completely false. As the more self-aware we become, the more settled and satisfied and in a very nice, calm, present state the ego will land. But the ego doesn't know that, so we're not trying to these are the things that the ego does. So my friend Carl Jung, as you know, I'm very Jungian as a Jungian psychotherapist and really use Jungian psychology in all the consulting and all the coaching and everything that I do. But this is one of my favorite quotes by him. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. So I love this because Carl kind of hits to the core of what self-awareness is about. We all know we can be self-aware about our external things. I can go learn a book. I can take a class. You teach me this. I can take a test, pass the test. I can learn lots of things external. And I can dream external. I can dream of possibilities external. But awakening comes from knowing what's going on inside of us that's interpreting and experiencing all these things. And these are the things that, no fault of our system, we just didn't know these things for centuries. Now we do. Now we sort of know there's a whole inner life. And probably spiritual people of many disciplines knew this, but it never really hit the mainstream for us. But now now we are getting a glimpse into that. Understanding what's going inside of us is a very key point. So understanding our ego and what it's doing is one of the paramount things in our culture and in our world, really. So the idea being that I want to start to become an expert of knowing when my ego is reacting. Now, if you watched the prior video that I did about projection, that's really a good start. Projection is like a key, but it's not the only thing that we can utilize in this. Projection is basically triggered by or paying close attention to our feelings that we don't know where those feelings are coming from, and they're strong feelings. But we can also do this from other ways, and one of the ways is being able to listen to what our mind is doing, say, for example, when we're in a conversation. So we're in a conversation, and most of us, hopefully, if we're really, one of the best definitions I ever heard about the best mental health is being able to call your own BS. The better you're able to call your own BS, the better off it's going to be for us. And I like that. But one of the things a tool that we can use in this is when we're having a conversation with somebody, and we can hear that voice in our head say, like I heard a couple recently that I was working with, somebody said, I got to go to this restaurant for a luncheon, a new restaurant that she had never gone to at this place a couple weeks ago. And before the sentence was actually completed, the husband says, yeah, I went to this other restaurant on the other side. It was in another neighborhood, and was comparing and contrasting. Okay, so there's nothing really terrible in that conversation. So don't get me wrong. This is life. This is what the ego does, and this is what happens. But it's a really good example of how sly the ego sort of gets in there. So what happens when we do that, and we're certainly not picking on the husband, because it's all of us. We all have an ego, so this is the way it happens. So the ego, just to use that as an example, heard something, tried to compare. It wasn't necessarily trying to one up the person, but it was like, okay, the spotlight is off me. I want the spotlight back on me, and unconsciously put the spotlight back on themselves. And when that happens, when we get caught up in those little ego traps and they go unchecked, which they're not going to go, we're not going to get rid of these altogether, most likely. That's not the point. We're not trying to get them completely gone. We're trying to correct them as quickly as possible. But when I do that, I put myself in a situation where I'm not present anymore, because now I'm really more concerned about what I have to say, and I'm not really as concerned, even though I can act, no, I'm concerned, I am concerned. And I'm not saying that we aren't in general, but we're not present, so we aren't concerned. Do you follow me? So if I need to be present to be truly concerned, really what I'm saying is I want to be concerned, but my ego just took me away. So this is one really good check, is to check our language, check what we're saying to ourselves in conversations. And even if we're not in conversations, or you're listening to somebody else talk, or you listen to another conversation, is listen to the dialogue that's going on inside of there. Because when we're caught in that dialogue, guess what we are not? We're not present again. We're caught in that, and it's just the ego trying to create its existence, trying to don't forget about me, don't forget about me, don't forget about me. And it's trying to doing it, but in doing so, it's interrupting our ability to connect with others, and it's interrupting our ability to broaden ourselves and to learn more and to experience more and to ultimately be more present. Another thing that we can do is to check, this is another really good tool to use, is check your language. Check how many times you say I. How many times you say I like this, I don't like that. I like this. Oh, that's my favorite. Oh, I don't really like that too much, but I like that. I don't like when people are driving. What are they doing to me? Why are these people driving in front of me? Check the I's and the me's that are circling around in there, because the I's and the me's are ways that our ego uses to keep us caught up in this mirage that we're the only thing that exists. Right? And I'm not saying that from a preachy standpoint. I'm saying that this is the function, this is what the ego does when it's unchecked. And when the ego gets caught in that, it thinks it's actually helping me, but it's actually making me suffer, because I end up on the negative side of it. I end up running stories that make me feel less adequate, less connected, more alone, less understood, more misunderstood, etc. So these are the benefits of slowing down the chatter and to engage in the conversation. Now, the other thing is sometimes that we will be thinking that, that what's wrong with that? Now here's the gigantic secret out there, is we all have egos. So if we're doing that to others, guess what else is happening? It's being done to us all the time too. And so when we walk away going, they weren't even listening to me. All they did, I feel so, they weren't listening, they weren't understanding, they were just talking about themselves. And we've all done that. We all probably have some people in our lives that do that excessively, right? And then we have others that do it sometimes and sometimes not. But that naivety that we bring into that place, that we think, the ego thinks it's only happening to us, and it forgets that we also do it to other people. So by becoming self-aware, not only do I relieve my suffering when I'm dealing with somebody else, but it helps me to better be there for other people, and it helps me not to take it as personally when it's happening to me. Right? Makes sense. So this ego self-awareness is really a core piece to what we're trying to work on here. So what I want you to do is pay attention to that this week. I want you to really look in terms of, okay, what am I saying to myself? And don't be critical on yourself. Let me just tell you that right up front. We all have a lot of negative chatter going on inside there. This is not about eliminating negative chatter. This is about paying attention to it and letting go of it as quickly as possible. And even if it comes back 10 times in 30 minutes, I want to see it, experience like, oh my gosh, let it go. Let it go. It's not about perfection. It's about the action of letting it go. And with that, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for coming in. I'm Joseph Noecker with the Center for Self-Balance, and we'll see you soon.